me. Hi, Joshua. Welcome to Intentional Living with Suzy Rawlins. I am so glad that you said yes to being a guest on this podcast so that our audience can learn more about you and your journey of intentional living. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on, Susie. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. So why don't we just start with, kind of the basic, a little bit about you or your background that kind of led you to where you are today as far as your space in intentional living.
Yeah, definitely. I grew up in Southern California and I grew up doing catering. My dad had a catering company. And so I had a lot of experience in the food service industry and got to see behind the scenes of how different foods are made and prepared. And I've come up with ways to improve upon those methods to make them, more balanced as far as macronutrients and just healthier in general. And I struggled with depression and food addiction my whole life. I was overweight, and finally in 2019, I was walking up my steps to my house, and consider it's only 5 or 6 steps. I was out of breath by the time I got to the top, and I just had decided that it was enough, and I wanted to take control of my health and start living intentionally, as you like to say. So I started talking with the therapist, and they recommended meditation. And I never thought that I would, be the kind of person to meditate, but I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and
Yeah.
I was open to new things, so I decided to try it. And wouldn't you know it, I felt better afterwards. I mean, it was hard to block out all the thoughts and try to focus on my breathing, but once I was able to do that, it really helped me have more bandwidth to deal with stuff throughout the day. And I felt a sense of accomplishment. And
I
at
like
that
that you
time,
use the word bandwidth, like because that like I, we only have so much energy in a day. Like and I love that you like
Mhm.
said doing these extra things gave me more, right? Like because sometimes people are like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't add that because that's extra, but it actually
hmm
gave you more. So I like the way you worded that.
Yeah, it only takes a few minutes a day. I mean, even if it's just 5 minutes, I mean, it's something and it'll help. Um, so I also started doing some strength training around that time, and that really helped boost my mood and my confidence and made me feel good, physically and emotionally. So I did that for a while, but I had a lot of weight to lose. I lost over 70 pounds and it
Wow,
kept it off over four
congratulations.
years. Yeah, thank you. So that's when I decided, hey, I gotta start changing my diet and start eating differently. So that's when I started incorporating more protein into my diet and more whole foods in general. And that left the processed foods to fall, by the wayside.
Yeah.
And I think, those ultra processed foods are really what are hurting a lot of people's health these days. Um,
Well, and
and
it sounds
that's,
like you did it step by step. You started like meditating, then you started strength
mhm.
training, and then like you didn't just go, I have to do it all at once.
I think that's how a lot of people fail is
Mm,
trying to do everything and go full bore, hardcore, and you just get burnt out. And so I
yeah.
really recommend that people take small steps and try to make small changes over time to incorporate healthy habits into their life.
Yeah.
And that's what my book is about, living the protein lifestyle.
Oh, very
It's
cool.
my health evolution, I like to call it, and it includes all the methods and strategies that I use to find lasting success. So I'm really happy to get that out in the world, and if I can only help one person improve their health, that would be amazing.
So is your book already published or is it being published? What's the status of it?
Yes, it is published.
Okay.
It's on Amazon. It's available now. Last month, I published the second book in the Protein Lifestyle series, the Workbook. And
Oh,
that is a step-by-step guide to help people start living the protein lifestyle. It includes questions to help assess where you're at and includes knowledge bases, action steps, and resources for every topic. So it can
Very
really help guide someone to start improving their health.
well. We'll definitely link your book in the description of this video. That way people can find it easily. If
Hmm.
you had like maybe 1 to 3 really good points, like what does the protein lifestyle mean? Like, what does that mean?
Um, Living the protein lifestyle is primarily about prioritizing protein, eating enough protein to feed your body so it can function properly. And then you can pretty much eat whatever else you want because protein is so satiating. If you're eating the proper amount of protein, you're not going to have enough room for too much of the other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's based on a three-prong approach. I like to call it the three pillars of optimal health: fitness, nutrition, and recovery. And in recovery, I like to include like physical recovery and mental wellness. And
Mm.
I think mental wellness is the most important aspect of overall health. Because if you're not motivated to take care of yourself, then nothing else is really going to matter.
Yeah, for sure. I know I started doing some CrossFit at one point, right? And
Hmm.
then so I had my own health journey and had to walk through some stuff, but I started doing the CrossFit and getting back to like the strength that I wanted. And then I was like, okay, now I want to build muscle. So my coach was like, okay, we got to track your macros. And I was like, I don't even know what a macro is, right? But when she gave me my protein number, I was like, holy cow, how does a human eat that? But
Yeah.
I found that how do I want to put it? When I got great sources of protein, it was easy to hit that goal
Hmm.
and not just crap protein.
Definitely. I think whole proteins, especially animal proteins, is the way to go. And particularly ruminant animals like cows or lamb
Mm,
provide the most bioavailable and nutrient dense nutrition that you can find anywhere on the planet. It's the protein shakes are great to get started and add a little bit more protein, but they
yeah,
definitely shouldn't be the primary protein source
yeah.
because those are processed too, and your body just doesn't utilize the proteins the same as from a whole source.
So, do you have any, well, I mean, obviously the protein, right? Any specific strategies or tools other than that just really helped you along your journey and that you continue to use?
Yeah, cooking at home.
Hmm.
I'd recommend people try to cook their own food as much as possible. Restaurants and fast food joints, they use the ultra processed oils that are very bad for your health, and the the protein serving in typical meals are just not enough.
Mm,
It's really hard, and when you cook yourself, you can control all the aspects of the food, the preparation, the serving sizes, like the macros you said. You can
yeah.
give yourself enough protein and the appropriate amount of carbohydrates. If you choose to eat carbohydrates, I do a low carb diet right now. And when you're on the go, you just have to be smart about what you're consuming, and it might take a little bit extra effort. But if you can, add a hamburger patty to your hamburger, or add an extra egg, or if you're doing no carb, you could just eat hamburger patties with cheese and bacon on top, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You could also get a steak, or rotisserie chicken is pretty available, and that's a great meal in itself. Um, Sashimi, sushi is really good, or just egg bites are really popular now, and they might not be made with all the right ingredients, but it's better than eating a sandwich or something that the macros are off.
I know I had to go gluten free due to some severe food allergies. And the interesting, like you said, like get the hamburger patty without the bun or the different things. And not that I was intending to go low carb or anything like that, but in general, like that's where I was finding my gluten.
Hmm.
I ended up ultimately being a little bit lower carb until I found gluten-free junk food. And then, right? So there,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? And then I was like, oh, well, look at these. They're crackers, but they're gluten-free, not necessarily because
Hmm.
processed, right?
It's really tough. It's really tough to try to substitute um, those high carbohydrate, those gluten and wheat made products. It's all still processed, and
Yeah.
your body just doesn't use it properly. Um, Food allergies are a big deal. A lot of people are sensitive to foods or they have allergies, and you wouldn't even ever know it. I mean, I did the carnivore diet in January for 1 month, and it was challenging. It was hard to find a variety of different foods to eat.
Yeah.
Make it exciting. There's only so many ways to make ground beef, but um, I am coming out with my cookbook in December, so that will
Very
include a
cool.
lot of high protein recipes and low carb. But the biggest thing I got from doing the carnivore diet, which is an elimination diet,
Yeah.
was eliminating all these different things that were bothering me, and I didn't even know. I was just on this level, and I kind of felt okay. I didn't feel horrible, but after I cut those things out and started reincorporating different foods back into my diet slowly, I started realizing that, hey, this food makes me feel tired and brain fog, and I just want to sleep afterwards. But when I eat a steak, I feel great and I have energy all day long.
Yeah.
And I really advise people to try an elimination diet if they're struggling, just to try to figure out what foods are bothering them.
What would you
And I
suggest?
highly,
What would you suggest on protein for, and it's not me, but I have clients that are vegan. Like,
mm,
right? So they're vegan and then
it's
they need to get that higher level of protein. So do you have like suggestions or in your cookbook, is there going to be some thoughts for that too?
This is going to be the protein lifestyle cookbook. And it's not solely animal protein, but it is focusing on animal
Okay.
proteins. And vegans and vegetarians have a very hard time meeting their protein goals. A lot of these foods that are marketed towards vegan and vegetarians are highly processed and very unhealthy for you. These fake meats, the Beyond Burgers, the fake chicken nuggets, they're just packed with all kinds of chemicals and, just things that are not good for you. And so it's very, very challenging for people to get enough protein with whole foods. You can combine, rice and beans to make a whole protein,
Mhm.
but you got to eat a lot of rice and beans to get enough protein, and you're going to overdo it on the carbohydrates, and you're not going to feel good.
Yeah.
Um, I really don't have any suggestions for vegans, but vegetarians, eggs are on the table. Eggs
Yeah.
are a great source of protein and fat. People forget that there's essential fats, just like essential proteins. And on the other hand, there's no essential carbohydrates.
And that just reminded me, I have some hard-boiled eggs in the fridge that I need to eat up. So,
There you go.
I'm just curious because as I coach clients, right? You
Hmm.
meet people with different dietary needs, different dietary choices. I have a couple of clients that are one is like more pescatarian, so she eats more like I guess chicken and fish, right? The
Hmm.
other one is straight vegan, and it really is that when she eats the meat, even chickens and things like that, her body responds horribly, right? And
Yeah.
so I know there are people who choose it, right? And it
Hmm.
not necessarily intentionally with how their body reacts, but um, since I've learned how important protein is, and then I had another client who had lost a bunch of weight, very young, lost a bunch of weight, um, and then was working out and wasn't eating enough protein because had unhealthy relationship with food. And
Hmm.
so then as this client was working out, right, their body was eating up their muscle because they weren't consuming enough protein to go ahead and build that muscle. And so
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to me across social media right now, the protein conversation that is happening. I feel like it's
Hmm.
very wide. I feel like the carnivore diet is very widespread as well. I always encourage people to be educated on their own health, right? Before they just jump at what somebody on social media says. Oh, everybody's doing it. No, let's look at your blood
Yeah.
work. Let's look at how you, like you said, how do you
Hmm.
feel when you eat it, and all those things. And don't just jump because 10 people across TikTok said it and you're like, oh, I'm in because 10 people are doing it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, starting slow, even with the carnivore diet, just starting to eat more proteins and just making small changes over time is highly recommended. And, if people are having trouble with certain proteins, they might want to try more naturally raised, uh, animal source proteins, grass-fed, grass-finished cows. The meat that they produce is way different than corn and soy finished cows. And when they're raised regeneratively, they sequester carbon into the soil, and it's a benefit for the environment. It doesn't hurt the environment. And these animals aren't in feedlots. They're not breathing in all the ammonia, and they're not getting the antibiotics and all that nasty stuff. And the quality of life is very high. And they only have one bad day. I know there's a lot of vegetarians that are concerned about, animal welfare and their quality
Yeah,
of life. And if you can find, go out and meet your farmer and ask them how they raise their animals and ask to see the farm. And if you like what they're doing, that might open you up to be able to eating, animal proteins.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, but the carnivore diet, yeah, it's not for everyone. Some people have done it 10 or 20 years and they're totally fine. Some people, they need some carbs. They need,
Mhm.
a little extra. Since coming off the carnivore diet, I've settled on basically fruit
Mhm.
and animal proteins is the mainstay of my diet. And I still practice a 90-10 meal plan where 90% of the time I eat only meat and fruit, but 10% of the time I flex my meals. I like to call them flex meals. And I still prioritize protein, but I can eat pretty much whatever I want. Like I said, last week
Yeah.
I went to In-N-Out and I had 3 by 3, which is, like a double double with an extra patty. So 3 patties.
Mhm.
And I had fasted in the morning. So I needed to catch up on my calories, which is really important when you're doing intermittent fasting. And
Mhm.
so I got a animal style fry with an extra patty on top of that.
Nice.
And that was a lot of carbs with the bread and the fries and everything, but it tasted really great. I got all my protein. I didn't overeat on my calories and I was happy. And it's really important for people not to be super strict all the time and
Yeah.
still allow those flex meals. And
Well,
just
and
if you're just starting out,
I think that's where food relationship comes in, right? Like not labeling
yeah.
things good or bad, because when you're
Hmm.
like, well, French fries are bad, then when you eat them, you have this guilt. But if you're like, well, I'm going to have them occasionally and I'm going to enjoy them, then I know that some of the conversations that I'm having with some of my clients too is about uh, that they say this food is bad. I'm like, well, who said it's bad? Where did that come from? How did
Hmm.
we achieve that a cupcake is bad? Because you just said it tastes delicious. So if it tastes delicious, I mean, right. So like it's that balance. It's everything in moderation and not. I think
Definitely.
the labeling things, good or bad, is not
Yeah.
necessarily healthy for us.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to moderate their foods. And if some people have trouble moderating, they should probably keep that stuff out of their house.
For sure.
Um,
For sure. For
and
me too.
only me too. Yeah. Popcorn, I'm a sucker. If there's popcorn, I'm gonna eat it.
Well, we're
And
human,
it's
right? We're human. And I always, like I'm not a big soda pop drinker, right? Like it's just not me.
mhm.
And I used to be like, if I ever wanted it, I had to get up and go down to the convenience store So then I had to
Yeah.
think. So it was very, and this is funny because this is like probably 20 years ago, right? And so
Hmm.
even I think I was even practicing intentional living 20 years ago because I was like, well, if I don't keep soda pop in my house, but I have to think, do I want to get dressed? Do I want to go to the convenience store? Do I want to get the pop? Is it really worth drinking the pop? And sometimes,
Yeah.
yes, it was. Yes, I really did want it, but it wasn't right there in my fridge where I could just go and
Hmm.
grab it. And even now, there's people in
Yeah.
my house that drink it, and it's in my fridge, but I don't go for it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Once you stop eating, certain foods, you stop craving them.
Mhm.
It's a really fascinating subject, the gut-brain axis
Yes.
and how your gut makes you crave certain foods. And if you stop eating them for long enough, 30 to 60 days, then you stop craving them.
Yeah, for sure. Would
Yeah.
you say that you said you started your journey in 2019, yes? Your own
Hmm.
personal health journey. So then from your personal health journey, how long did it take you to realize, hey, I want to coach other people. I want other people to live well, feel good, be healthy. Like how did that transition happen?
Um, well, it was 2023, about April. I was out of a job and I was trying to figure out what to do. And I got introduced to a writing group and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to write about. And I decided that I wanted to share my story of how I took control of my own health. And while writing that book, I, had thought about helping other people and trying to help them in a deeper level than just providing the book. And so that's when I started helping people out and coaching them on their health.
Nice. I think
Yeah.
I always love when it's kind of like that underdog, like you came through the trenches
Hmm.
and like you can go to school to learn something, which I did go to school to be a health coach and I have, all the things, but I also went
Yeah.
through the trenches too. So I went through the
Hmm.
trenches, then I decided to do this. And I always feel like I feel better when somebody's leading me and coaching me and helping me when they've been maybe not in the same trenches, but somewhere similar. You know,
Yeah. A struggle.
yeah.
You can relate to them. That's very helpful.
So do you have any other like daily habits that help you live your most intentional life? Like besides the protein, do you have any other, and well, you said meditation, excuse me,
Hmm.
like any other specific habits or do you track habits? Because I'm kind of a tracking nerd. So I always ask people, do they track their habits?
Um, I do track in terms of like to-do list kind of. I use like the reminders on my phone to check things off. I try to get at least 10,000 steps a day. I try to get low angle sun. So when sunrise and sunset, I try to get out and get that sunlight on my body and in my eyes. And that really helps with circadian rhythm.
Yes. And
Um,
mental health.
yeah, I think people don't realize how critical sleep is for mental health, physical health, just overall well-being. And getting your body to sync up with the sun really helps with that sleep cycle and helps get that quality sleep that you need.
Yeah.
So,
I'm lacking a little bit in the sleep department today.
hmm.
Normally not a thing for me, not, but I chose to live intentionally yesterday and go to a concert and have a great time and make memories, right?
Awesome.
So not an everyday thing, but
Hmm.
and I'm a good sleeper. So yeah, sleep is important. And when you don't get it, I think just being very aware, like, okay, Susie, you're tired today because you booked a full day, you stayed out pretty late, but
Hmm.
having that awareness around that goes, you know what? I value my sleep. So that over the next few days, I'm going to make sure I pad that in just a little bit more to give my body the recovery, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So
Because I
yeah,
think
getting your steps in,
yeah,
and working out, exercising, a few days a week of strength training, some mobility training,
mm,
and cardio is important, but maybe not as important as people have been led to believe. maybe an hour, 1 day a week of cardio is plenty to get your heart and your respiratory system health in check. But the strength training is critical. It's critical for strengthening your bones.
Yes.
It's critical for avoiding injury. It boosts your metabolism. And you feel good when you're strong and you can carry your groceries in the house and not struggle.
I have another friend
So
who's a health coach, and he put out a video one day and he was talking about squats or whatever. And literally that morning I had done my squats and I was like, who created these things? Was it the devil? Like, because like I have a love-hate relationship with squats, right? And his
hmm
message, right, that I saw right after that, he says, make sure you do your squats because you're gonna have to use the toilet the rest of your life. And I was like,
right.
I actually never thought about that. Like, but that motion, right? And I was like, dude, why did you read my mind today? And why did you put it in practical terms? So now I'm gonna go back and do my
hmm
squats tomorrow and probably still cuss about them.
Yeah, definitely. They can be challenging for sure. And, you don't have to do all your squats at one time. You can break
No,
it up throughout the day, do 10 here, 10 there, and it adds up and you,
I
you build
know.
strength and
I've also heard, muscle is currency, right? So as we age, the better we have more muscle, the better. Like you said,
hmm
you can carry in your groceries, and I think putting it in a practical term for people, like
yeah.
you don't need biceps just to have biceps. You need them so that you can, you know, uh, carry in your groceries, move stuff around your house, do your laundry.
hmm
You need the muscle for that, but not to show off your guns. Although I'm in a gun show with myself right now, so I'm working on
Oh,
that.
nice. Yeah, everyone's got different goals. Some people are bodybuilders and some people are power lifters and some people just want to get through their day without hurting themselves. And
Yeah,
the older you get, the more susceptible you are to injuring yourself. And the stronger your body is, the more resilient you're going to be. I mean, muscle is great for emotional health too. I mean,
yes,
they release endorphins and different chemicals in your body when you work your muscles to make you feel good.
for sure. Well, as we kind of wrap
hmm
up today, what would you like our audience to know about you and your business? And if somebody's an ideal client for you, like what is that you want to wrap up to give so people want to look for you?
Yeah, definitely. You can find me and all my free resources, including my top three high protein, easy to make recipes on my website,
Okay.
joshnoland.com.
And we'll
Uh,
definitely link that too.
Definitely. And on there, I have how to calculate your macronutrients, and all kinds of different resources to help you get started. And then if you're interested in my book, that's on Amazon, Living the Protein Lifestyle,
Nice.
and the Protein Lifestyle Workbook, and then the Protein Lifestyle Cookbook will be coming out in December. So I'm really excited to get this stuff out to people and help them live their best lives. And I do offer a 6-week holistic health transformational course, which you can also find on the website. And that uses the workbook as a guide. Um, and so for people that need that extra little bit of help and a little bit of extra coaching, we work together through the workbook, and that includes live coaching calls.
Nice.
And yeah, that can really help someone who's struggling and not sure where to start.
Very cool. Well, I am so glad you said yes today. And you told me before we started recording that you're also a chef. And so I think that is pretty powerful for people to know about you as well. I'm
hmm
grateful that you said yes. We're going to put all your links in this. And I hope that people who need you and your services and your expertise are going to find you and that you can empower more people to just live healthier and more intentionally.
Definitely. I really enjoyed our conversation, Suzy. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.